Round one. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
The Hungry Gamers.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the 321st episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by ATEBIT.net and those sexy audio-based legends at Audio-Technica. Go upgrade your Audio-Technica game today at audiotechnica.com. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit. And joining me on this episode, as is tradition, my podcast, Ride or Die, the Baba Yaga to my nameless generic European assassins. You can find her on them socials at Miss Allie Hart. Miss Allie Hart, how the bloody hell are you?
I'm doing good on this Friday/Saturday morning.
Yeah, coming to you from the past and the future at the same time. It's great.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, like I'm absolutely buggered this week. I just feel like everything has been kind of endless and there's been non-stop just work and things to deal with. I don't know if it's just me. I feel like a lot of people are pretty exhausted and it's still the start of the year.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's the end of quarter madness for anyone in sort of, I guess, sales oriented based jobs where you're measured on targets and things. So end of month, end of quarter was very stressful for everybody. I'd say myself very much included because it was a big week work wise and I'm so tired. Like I know it's only Saturday morning, but I'm already looking forward to a nap after this recording to try and recharge a little bit more of these batteries. But we've made it. We are now into April. Yeah. It is April Fool's Day here in Australia as we currently record. It's not quite yet the same across the rest of the globe, but if you are celebrating April Fool's Day, maybe don't, because some of the jokes that people make or some of the pranks that people do are just so distasteful and really gross. So just be careful with the pranks and the jokes you're making because some of the things you think might be funny can be pretty personal and impactful to people. So just be careful with your whole April Fool's kind of shit because there's real people on the other end of those jokes.
I'm glad you kind of like reminded me because at least now tomorrow any absurd advertisements or oddities I can question, thinking now that it is April Fool's. So I'm glad you gave me that reminder.
Yeah, it's just a weird time. Like I've never been a big April Fool's type that got behind it, and it's funny because I've got a few friends who have their birthday on April Fool's, and also the late great Rick White's birthday was April Fool's, so I'm going to be enjoying a bit of Chinese food and some Coca-Cola as is tradition to keep the memory of my old man alive now. So that's what I'm going to be doing today or tonight. Eating nasty Chinese and drinking Coke and good. cheers and Papa Rick up there in the clouds while he smokes 500 cigarettes a day. But it is what it is. But we're here, episode 321 on THG. Great number episode.
Yeah.
Great number episode. And I wanted to jump in first and I'll talk about what I've watched really quick. And I went to the cinema and checked out everyone's favorite assassin, superhero, action superstar, helmed by the 58-year-old Keanu Reeves. Obviously, we're talking about John Wick here. Went and watched John Wick 4. And the hype and the reviews that we're seeing around the traps, the 10 out of 10s, we're seeing from some places, or, the 90s. I think it's currently 94 on Metacritic. Don't quote me exactly. But it is great. Like, it is over 2.5 hours. It is a long, long revenge ride, but as is tradition with anything that John Wick is attached to, it just oozes coolness. Like the way it's shot, the scenes, the lighting, the soundtrack, the hand-to-hand combat, all that. Like it is just like so smooth and so cool and just awesome to watch. And it's just a feast for the senses. And I love where they've taken the story, where they've sort of continued to up the ante and the stakes. Like you sit there and go, how can this franchise elevate itself further after what's happened in the previous three? But it does, and it's great. and I love the characters. Obviously, Keanu is a saint. Everyone loves Keanu, and him in this role, and seeing what he does at 58 years old, like, because he's done like 90+% of the stunts in this movie, in the previous movies, and the way that he can move and learn these things at that age, like, hat tip to you, old man, because it is very admirable. But yeah, John Wick 4, it is great. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a good long while. It's one of the best action films I've seen in an even longer while. And I'd say it's probably, recency bias aside, the best film in the franchise so far, which is rare to say when you're 4 movies deep.
Yeah, I would say, like, I would say that the John Wick 2 and 3, I kind of get a little muddled up between what happens in each one. Like, I kind of get them mixed up a little. So I would say that they kind of probably fell a little bit more flat in contrast to the impact of the original movie John Wick that established the whole thing. But to hear that the 4th installment is just amazing. Like, everyone is raving about it. There's just positive reviews, and it seems like there's a lot of potential for spin-off as well. I'm pretty excited. I was feeling a bit pessimistic about there being a 4th installment of these movies, but everyone has said it's amazing. So I am actually going to see it tomorrow. So
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it, because it blew me away. Like, it was, like a longer runtime. It did not feel that way. Like, it was just the pace of it. It just kept going and moving forward and just adding new set pieces and new elements and new bits of story. Like, it had a really great pace, and some of the locations where they're shooting this, like in the Middle East and in France and in parts of Europe, like, the scenery and the locations it's just a visual spectacle. And then you throw in that love of neon and sort of that synth-wavy sort of vibe and aesthetic that's constant through the John Wick franchise. It's great. And then that crunchy soundtrack, it's just, it's everything that I wanted. And I was really, really happy with the end result. And yeah, we've got a couple of spin-offs. We've got one that ties into what's called Ballerina, which is sort of allegedly set between... Right. I can't remember if it's set between films 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, but it's set before John Wick 4. And my dream girl Anna de Armas is the lead in that one, so I'm looking forward to seeing what she does there in that. And then we've also got one that ties into which is the series I think they're doing, which ties into the hotels around the globe and how they weave in as far as a safe haven for the assassins and whatnot. So there's plenty of John Wick universe that's getting built out, and there's a lot of history and lore there that they can probably dig up and sort of explain to us in more detail. So I'm all for it. If it stays at this sort of standard, make this stuff forever. But if it does start to wane and get a little watered down, then maybe pull the pin. We don't want it to just become a bit of a cheap knockoff that's the Wish version of John Wick, you could say. But if it stays at this high degree, then make it forever, because it's just good, fun, powerful, impactful storytelling, and just the combat, like the hand to hand and then the gunplay. It's like, get out of here. This is so damn slick.
I must admit, I do love that trope of having a catalogue of unique assassins with their backgrounds and their own styles of how they approach a target. So evolving more onto that aspect of the John Wick universe does sound pretty cool, but I do agree with you. You got to sometimes take a step back, and you don't want to ruin something good. So
yeah, I agree. Less is more, especially when a franchise is getting done at this high standard. Like, I've completely fallen off on the example I'll throw out here as far as like the Fast universe. Like, I know they're at Fast 10 now or whatever. Like, I can't tell if the quality's improved or not, because I fell off at maybe, I don't know, Fast 4. So I'm way back there in the dust. But yeah, it shouldn't just become a franchise that makes money for the sake of making money. Hopefully they can add substance to it for the future. And if Keanu is indirectly involved behind or in front of camera still, hopefully he's got to say that he wants to be respectful to that and keep it at that high caliber of storytelling, because it's just so good. So yeah, get out and check out John Wick 4. It is phenomenal. It's my favorite entry in the franchise. A little bit of a longer run, but does not feel that way. And man, it is great.
That's awesome.
Great. And also, I've been playing through a game we mentioned last week as far as what was coming out this week that we've just managed to navigate our way through, and that is Black Salt Games' game Dredge. So I've picked that up on the Xbox Series X and been working my way through it here and there over the week, and it's great. It is a fishing game at its core, but there is this like sinister, evil, ominous mystery lurking just below the surface. You know, I don't want to say much. I don't want to spoil anything from a narrative perspective, but yeah, the game, it starts up pretty quickly, and you put into the shoes of this nameless fisherman who's washed up on the shores of this small island town called the Greater Marrow, and then from there, you're going out fishing every day, paying off your debt because your boat got smashed to bits on the rocks. The mayor's like, we're going to give you this other boat, but you've got to pay off this loan. As is tradition, you know, there's plenty of games like that where it weaves into this loan-based currency system. And so you go out and fish every day, but the mayor and then the local townsfolk are like, just make sure you're back before, you know, sunset, because when it gets dark, you know, you don't want to be out in the water when it's dark. So it's very ominous, and anything you do in the game as far as navigating your vessel on the water, there's a timer at the top, and you're watching the minutes tick by. When you start fishing, the minutes tick by a lot quicker. So you've really got to juggle your time as far as, ooh, I can see a swell of fish over there in the distance. Will I have enough time to drive over there? Drive a boat? Is that the right term? Sail a boat? Yeah. Maneuver my boat over there, catch some fish, and then try and make it back before the sun sets and it gets a bit sketchy, or what? So there's this real calculated effort in the game where for the first few hours I was playing, I didn't know what was, like, once the sun started to set, like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but just the townsfolk just instilled this fear in me where I'm like, I'm not fucking around with it anyway. I'm getting home early every day. I don't want to see what happens. But then as you progress through the story and you get given tasks, it's like, you know, you need to catch certain types of fish for the fishmonger to make more money. But then some of the fish or some of the sea creatures only come out of a nighttime. So there's this risk where you've got to start navigating through the evening, and you've got lights on your ship so you can turn them off to be, I guess, less of an eyesore, less of a chance of getting detected by whatever is out there. And then also your character, the poor fisherman you play, has like this paranoia level that sets in as well. So you're dealing with your own paranoia and anxiety, plus the darkness and the fog around you while you're trying to catch these things out in this swell, not knowing what's coming, because it's got some real like Lovecraftian vibes to it. Like, cool. You know, what lurks beneath the sea out here in Greater Marrow and the broader islands. So at its heart, like you mentioned when you watch the trailer, like it does have a very cute art aesthetic. It does. The color palette's really bright during the day. The characters are, you know, pretty unique in their own right. The way the story's told, it's usually by a fixed sort of image pane of a character with the dialogue popping through. There's no like cut scenes with characters and whatnot, but you meet a whole host of characters. They're all very memorable in good and bad ways. The fishing mechanic is great, where you can upgrade your boat to, have certain abilities to catch rarer fish, or, you know, you have more deep sea based equipment so you can sort of get deeper down the bottom to get maybe rare and exotic types of sea creatures. You've got a big thing you catch on early in the game where you're then able to sort of dredge the depths of the sea to bring up treasures and stuff like that. So there is some depth to the core loop as far as the fishing goes, but then chucking this sort of really ominous, cultish, uncertain badness that hides under the waves of an evening just is a nice little wrinkle to a formula that I really love. Like I'm a sucker for a fishing game, but having this like HP Lovecraft inspired story that chucks in over the top and just it slow rolls as far as how it expands on the world and what's at stake and stuff. Like I really like that it's some subdued storytelling where it's done through character interaction. It's done through finding diary entries and stuff like that from other shipwrecks around. So when you're dredging, you're bringing up stuff from the ships and you're getting secrets about what was their downfall or what's happening in this cluster of islands. And it's just really fun because there's, you know, inventory management where you can only catch a certain amount of fish because you've only got a certain amount of space. management of your ship as well. Like if it takes damage, you've got to get it repaired, same as your equipment. So there's all these little management wrinkles that you need to factor in on top of just, living your best fisherman life and also avoiding the big bad nasty that lives out there in the fog and in the sea. And it's really, really good. Like it's a great little indie game. It's only like a gig download, so it's not a big dense game.
Sure.
But the gameplay loop's great. The risk versus reward of cruising out there in the deep darkness, and it's just good. Like it's just a nice chill, not chill. Well, I guess chill in a way. Like you're just cruising. You just don't have to give the game its full attention, but you kind of find yourself doing it anyway as you're dropping a line and catching fishies and just having a good old time out there in the sea.
I think that's brilliant, doing the juxtaposition between a sweet, calming activity as going fishing, but then having that ominous, unsettling nature kind of to contrast it. I think it's brilliant. It puts the calmness puts you in a false sense of, safety and security, and then you're balancing out with the whatever the depths below. I think it's great. And I agree, the art style still looks amazing to me, and you kind of have sold me a little bit on this one. I think it's the right level of cute and creepy that I kind of like.
I think you dig it. Like, I know that you're not big on the sea and being out there, but the good thing is you're always transfixed on your boat. So you're not going under the water, you're not like navigating and swimming through. So you're just always on surface level, fishing and navigating the world around. So I think it's a game you'd be able to play without too much feeling of discomfort out in the ocean. Because open sea is scary in game and in real life, but the way this is done and the art style and just the camera view management, where you've got the right stick, you can sort of zoom in, zoom out, you can be right close on the boat, you can sort of zoom out and have a bit of an isometric view if you like, which might increase or lessen the unease of being out in the open water. But it's really, really great, and seeing that panic meter increasing is so good. It just adds this extra layer of tension when you're already trying to stealth your way back to the dock to sell off the fish you've caught that day, or the random mystery findings you've done from dredging, combined with what's after me in the ocean, what's happening out here, and that panic meter sort of ticking up. It's so great. It's just super fun. Like, I was very excited when this got announced last year, and Black Salt Games have really hit it out of the park. It's about 30, I think it was $34 Australian on the Xbox marketplace. So was that maybe 20-ish bucks US?
Yeah, perfect.
Something like that. So it's a decently priced game, not too expensive. Available on Xbox, PC, PlayStation. I don't think it's out on Switch just yet, or if it's coming later, but it's planned for Switch as well. Nintendo fans, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But it plays really well on controller. It looks great. The soundtrack is great. And just that sort of constant sense of like unease from the ominousness that's around these islands is just, I'm a big fan of Dredge. Yeah. It's I'm very happy I picked this one up and gave it a spin, because it's cast its hook out and firmly sunk itself into me as it wound me back to the boat that is Dredge. So nice. Check it out. It out. But you haven't been doing a ton this week because you've been so damn busy.
So damn busy. Life gets a hold of you sometimes. I've only gotten to dabble a little bit in Fortnite and just mess around in that. I'm a chaos demon. People aren't appreciating my love for fireflies, unfortunately, in the game. But yeah, spice things up a little bit. But apart from that, just haven't really, I'm not up to date on my TV shows, and
so rude.
Yeah, it's so many things to do and just not enough time to do them. That's life.
Life is so rude sometimes. I've got to ask though, did you you jumped into the second round, like the open beta at 004? Did you manage to play that at all last weekend?
I did. Only got to play 1 day's worth of it, really. Jumped into Necromancer. It was all right. I definitely will be playing Sorcerer, but I had a very broken Necromancer based on 2 specific skill tree choices and a ring that I had, which essentially made it so when you are necromancer, you have the ability to use blood. Blood magic, essentially. And one of the things that you can do is turn into a blood mist. And then when you hover over bodies, like dead bodies, like corpses that are on the ground, there is a form that you can make those bodies explode, hurting enemies. And then, so with that combined, I had a ring that made it that it just stacked up. So for every body that exploded, it just extended the mist. So then if there was just a field of dead bodies and I hit the mist, I was just going around and around and around and around and around, killing bodies, dropping corpses, making them explode, and then the circle of death continued.
I love that.
That was fun. I tried to do a world event, but bless all those level 13 people in that level 25 event. Unfortunately, were not successful. It was an experience. But yeah, it definitely sealed the deal for me that I was a sorcerer. But it also sealed the deal for me that I can't wait for the Diablo content to fully release.
Yeah, I jumped in last weekend and worked my way through the open beta as well. And just like you, it seems we've walked the exact same path. I spun up a Necro because I didn't get to play it sort of early on the Saturday, but just reading the feedback, a lot of people were like, yeah, the Druid's kind of crappy to play. It's not the most exciting. It's a little bit weak or here or there. So I'm like, you know what? I'll fire up the Necromancer as well. And similar thing, like I only usually had to hit like one or two abilities because the way I built out this character spec, all my little undead minions were just running roughshot through everywhere. Like upgraded them, and I had like a group of skellies with Reaper sights, and I had a few mage skeletons with me, and I'm just hitting my one or two abilities, and these things are just doing the rest. Like it was fun, but like the degree of difficulty was not there for me. I was playing one-handed a lot of the time, like because I could navigate with the joystick, face buttons on the back on the Elite controller, and so I could be eating dinner or having a sip of drink and just playing with my left hand and working my way through it. But yeah, it's still fun, and I'm hyped as hell to jump into the full release in early June because the game played a lot better on this open beta.
Definitely.
I didn't notice any sort of connectivity issues. Even the queues, like you started the game up and it was very ominous message about, queue times are going to be extensive. Then I jumped in, it was like, queue time less than 1 minute. I'm like, oh, cool, that's fine, thank you.
I had a 20-minute wait. It wasn't too bad, but it was a 20-minute wait. But yeah, I agree. In contrast to the previous beta testing, which is interesting because the first beta was exclusive for people who had code access, and this beta that passed was open for everyone. So I guess they learned a lot from us that paid for that experience, or had paid in some kind of way, whether it was pre-ordering or getting a dump KFC burger.
Yes.
But I want to say I hope not everyone is going to choose Necromancer when the game fully releases, because it got confusing having all those skelly boys, minions running around in their Necromancers. It just got a little confusing on who was the bad guy and which skellies were mine. And I'm sure the servers really hated how many Necromancers were running around.
There was many, that's for damn sure. And I love when you go into a friendly town and your little skelly minions are still just there hanging out, following you around. You're like, oh, I'm just going to go to the shops or change my clothes. Then you just got your little spectral skellies
just sitting
there almost waiting on the bed for you. It was hilarious. But yeah, super fun. I'm excited to play the full release when it drops on the 6th of June on all those platforms. But yeah, it was a good time the last 2 weeks with the Diablo 4 beta in the open and closed version. So hopefully everyone else that got a taste had a good time too. Yeah. Quick bit of housekeeping. Obviously, if you wanted to support us monetarily and throw a little bit of cash in our pocket, which would be appreciated, you can head on over to ko-fi.com/we-are8bit. Can support us from the low price of $1 per month, getting exclusive access to perks, giveaways, and more. Want to upgrade your merch game? Head on over to shop8bit.net to get your body covered in t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and everything else in between. And then if you wanted to check out all our content as a whole, our go-to hub is videogamesandculture.com. And while you're there, be sure to join us on Discord and follow us on all the socials at We Are 8-Bit. especially on TikTok. I know it's still very much a very sensitive topic in the States. Those congressmen and women are doing all they can to get the evil TikTok banned. And Bill 686 or 686 or 8, it's 686, it's not 868.
686. No, I think you're right, 686.
Yeah, that's scary. Like, if that bill gets passed, it is scary for people in America. So hopefully that bill gets nipped in the bud, because you do not want to muck around with that. And I quickly just wanted to shout out, I've done a bit more research on the Australian Classification Board. And
here we go.
yeah, so out of the board, there is 7 regular board members, or let's say 7 full-time or board certified members.
Okay.
Four of which are in fact old white dudes or old white dudettes.
Okay.
And then on top of that, there's a broader 11 temporary board members that are also part of this decision process. I don't know if all 18 of them decide together on every title from game, film, TV, etc. But there's 18 people in there. The 11 temporary board members, it's a very diverse list in there, which is great. A lot of younger-minded people from all walks of life. But the primary 7 power players, you could say, the fact that over 50% of them are of the old and white variety, goes to confirm our suspicions here. So, there's a couple of Karens, you could say, that they look very Karen-esque in their profile pictures that I've discovered. So, yeah, it was an exhausting process digging up and researching the classification board members. But there's 18, 7 of which are regular board members. 4 of those are old white dudes or dudettes. So take that information as you will.
Well, props to you. You did the work.
I did. I followed through. I don't always do that with things that I randomly just throw statements around on this podcast. So I feel good to mark that as complete and move on to the next thing, which would obviously be this.
This week's news headlines. Presented by Audio-Technica.
Want to shout out the 8-Bit community for helping shape this week's focus news topics as well. So this is the news done in collaboration with us and the 8-Bit Nation. So the first one, don't really need to deep dive on this, but I've just titled this one, The Last of Us Part 1 Runs Like Balls. I don't know if anyone's seen some of the still shots or the screenshots that have been getting shared on social media about how like Joel and Ellie are looking on the PC version of The Last of Us Part 1, where they, like, Joel looks like Oscar the Grouch. It is so insane how bad the graphics look in some of these screenshots, and I was cackling this week.
It's a little baffling, especially when you have just had a wonderful, successful run of your series, and then you obviously want to get new gamers, I guess, new players to experience the original concept of where this series came from. And then obviously the PC players out there are getting the opportunity to play it on PC for the first time. The remastered for the first time. I can't remember if it's ever been on PC or if this is like a specific edition. So I apologize, but just for it just to look the way it does, it's weird. Like, you wouldn't think that this would be an issue or this kind of problem would come to light. I don't know. I am honestly just in disbelief. I just didn't think like a company like Naughty Dog and off the back of a successful series would even have a slither of this opportunity to happen, but it did.
It's baffling. Hey, like you said, like Naughty Dog's not some small up and coming indie developer. Like, it is one of the largest developers in gaming, and they make games at such a high standard. This feels very un-Naughty Dog, and I'm assuming, as far as the partnership they've had with some of the other developers to port this across to PC, is maybe where some of the onus lies. But the fact that they didn't maybe vet and verify a lot of this in more detail prior to release, and just make sure this thing runs to the standard you'd expect it should, is a little eyebrow raising, especially the eyebrows that Joel has in some of these screenshots, because they are big. They are big and they are bushy, and I know big and bushy eyebrows. So it's it'll get patched, it'll get optimized, and I'm sure it could be a mixture of some of the hardware it's playing on. Obviously, PCs are all built different as opposed to a PlayStation, where it's consistent out the
Pretty
box.
definitive, yeah.
Some of that combination of GPU, CPU, and other miscellaneous hardware could make things act a little bit janky, which is probably what's what's created some of these screenshots and memorable moments. But hopefully they can patch it in, and PC players spinning up The Last of Us Part 1 for the first time can get a good experience, because it's a great game, and even though we're making fun of it now, we do want everyone to experience the greatness that is The Last of Us.
Of course.
The next bit of news, obviously we've had the BAFTA Game Awards this week, and the winners that were announced or awarded, you could say, in London last night saw God of War taking home the most accolades. The acclaimed PlayStation Epic won 5 prizes, including both performance categories for Kratos actor Christopher Judge and Angry Boda actors Leia de Leon Hayes, as well as the publicly voted EE Game of the Year. 3 other titles picked up 2 BAFTAs each, including UK-developed Vampire Survivors, which was awarded Best Game and Game Design. From Software's Elden Ring won the award for multiplayer and original property, while indie hit Tunic took debut game and artistic achievement. So, God of War Ragnarok taking home 5, which is great. But seeing Vampire Survivors get the Game of the Year award at the BAFTAs is, well deserved. Like, we always talk about these little indie gems coming out of nowhere and tearing up the award ceremonies, and it's happened again here with Vampire Survivors, which you love.
I was always I was always shocked about this change of me hearing about a game and not understanding why it gets all the hype to being absolutely obsessed with it and understanding it completely. I think I am trying to gravitate and pay more attention to the BAFTAs in their awards. I believe that they maybe, I don't know, do they have a different reviewing scheme than the other award shows that we kind of see?
It feels that way. It feels like the BAFTAs are a little bit more structured and serious and probably regimented in their reviewing process. So, and it just sounds fancier, right?
Oh, it's the BAFTAs, right?
The BAFTAs.
Also, Immortality. They won for narrative, which makes a lot of sense. And it's great to see them getting the accolades for that as well, because it is quite the narrative. Mm-hmm. Obviously, depending how you play it too, but just a lot of thought that went into that as well. So yeah, indie gems, little hidden ones that kind of came out and surprised us all, and they're getting all the accolades, and that just encourages more for more funding and more push for indie titles and getting the respect that they deserve. There's
exactly
stuff out there.
Completely agree. And shifting gears to a little bit of negative news, it seems we can't go too many weeks here without some talk about layoffs, and Electronic Arts this week has announced it is laying off approximately 6% of its staff, or around 775 people roughly, based off some metrics that I sort of saw online, as part of a restructuring plan that also includes optimizing its real estate portfolio and refocusing its efforts around growth opportunities. In a note to staff about the cuts, EA CEO Andrew Wilson emphasized that the company is, in quotes, operating from a position of strength and will be focused on a handful of strategic priorities going forward. Building games with large communities, making the most of these communities with social and creator tools, and creating blockbuster interactive storytelling, end quote. There is more quotes that Andrew has shared as part of an internal email that went around to staff. You can dig that up and sort of read that in more detail. But the main point here is, 6% of EA have been let go, nearly 800 people. This is an ongoing trend that we seem to be talking about all the time here, as far as the tech industry hemorrhaging money, not making the profit margins they're hoping for, and in return, people suffer, people get let go. So we wish all of those 775 people asterisks, because that number's not exactly confirmed. All 6% of those staff the best, and hopefully they can find good work elsewhere really soon. But it sucks, and sadly, it's just a part of this industry.
It really is, and I feel like we're always consistently talking about mass tech layoffs, and especially in bulk. EA announcing these layoffs, and then we also had the layoffs at Twitch. So I could only imagine not only how difficult it is to be a part of the mass layoffs and being a part of the group, but then obviously how intense and competitive the market must become afterwards, because while obviously Twitch and working for EA, there's probably a lot of differences in roles and stuff, but I would imagine that there could be a few roles in the industry that could kind of cross over that now everyone would be kind of chewing at the bit to get to. So it is, as we always say, just scary to see these layoffs. It's scary to... This must be scary for people that had passions to jump into the industry and to only see absolutely how fleeting it is. And it's just... It's a risk. It's now looking to be a risk to even take any chance to pursue any dreams or any opportunities that maybe you are aspiring to reach. So it sucks.
It really does. It really does. Like, it's such a volatile and uncertain space. Like you mentioned, like so many people aspire to work in games, whether it be from a development side, publishing side, PR, etc., etc. But you're constantly just seeing this churn of people just getting chewed up and spat out due to profit margins not being where they need to be, or companies refocusing their energy and all those other buzzwords they try and use to justify firing of staff. So yeah, we wish everyone all the best at EA and Twitch, and hopefully we don't report on a similar announcement like this in the next few weeks, but it feels like it's going to happen because it's just, death, taxes, and firings in the game industry is, things you can't seem to avoid.
That's the way.
The next bit of news. A Scott Pilgrim anime is on the way from Netflix, starring Michael Cera, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, and all the original movie cast as voice actors. A casting announcement trailer released on YouTube confirmed the long-rumoured series, and alongside a familiar background and sound, a ton of familiar names popped up on screen. Sarah is returning as the titular Scott Pilgrim, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead is back as Ramona Flowers, alongside Mark Webber as Stephen Stills, Alison Pill as Kim Pine, Johnny Simmons as Neil Young, as young Neil, not Neil Young. Great musical performer though, Neil Young. Love you. Devil Woman, absolute banger. Anna Kendrick as Stacey Pilgrim, Ellen Wong as Knives Chow, Aubrey Plaza as Julie Powers, Larson as Envy Adams, and Kieran Culkin as Wallace Wells. So the entire original acting crew that jumped in and lent their talents to the film are returning to lend their voices to the anime. And this is awesome news. This game and this franchise, this comic, whatever you want to or wherever your entry point into Scott Pilgrim was, is perfect material for an anime. Like this, if it's done well, could be a banger. And I'm very excited for it. And what you feeling about this, Miss Hart?
I'm ecstatic, especially the fact that they've used the original cast from the movie to voice these characters. And the name escapes me, so I feel horrible for it. But apparently, the band that I believe did the video game soundtrack, I believe they're involved as well doing the music. So the only thing that I want to know about this is that they've obviously said Scott Pilgrim anime. Scott Pilgrim, I believe, originally had a lot of illustration already attached, and it was very cutesy, very blocky art style. So that the fact that this is being described as an anime, and then we're using the voices from the real life movie, I want to know, what kind of art style are we going for here? Is it going to be a bit more on the realistic side, or are we going to that original kind of blocky, I don't want to say childlike, but just a little bit family friendly kind of style? So that's the only thing I want to see.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what sort of look and feel they go with for this anime. But Netflix have got some great IP in their portfolio in that anime space, and Scott Pilgrim can slot right on in there. And yeah, the fact that they've gone one for one from the live actors transitioning into the voice acting role that they played, I love that. Because it's always a little bit of an adjustment when you've got an attachment to a character, and then it's like, hang on, this voice isn't the same as what I heard or saw in this. So it's nice that we're going to get continuity there. And yeah, I think this is going to be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot remember the band's name that helmed a lot of the soundtrack, but music plays a huge part, obviously, in this universe. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that will translate to the anime adaptation, because just the musical notes and everything getting played across in big anime battle moments, we get those live action sort of anime inspired battle moments in the film, and seeing that now dialed up even further in an anime is going to be sweet.
Yeah, it should be like really stunning.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. Something else that everyone in gaming is very much looking forward to, I think, ties into The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So Nintendo has shared this past week some uninterrupted gameplay of said game ahead of its May release date. The new footage showed off new abilities for Link, a closer look at the Sky Islands we've seen in all of the trailers, weapon durabilities return, and a lot more. In the gameplay footage of Breath of the Wild sequel, the weapon durability system returns as Link fights a construct with a tree branch, which breaks quickly. However, a new ability called Fuse allows Link to merge weapons, materials, and even enemies' weapons to create more powerful weapons. A new Ultra Hand ability was also shown, which allows Link to construct vehicles such as rafts. Additionally, a new Ascend ability was demonstrated, which allows Link to move through ceilings. The game is set to release on May the 12th of 2023, and full disclosure, listeners, whether you're joining us for the first time or you've missed us talking about the Zelda franchise over the previous 320 episodes, but I'm not the biggest Zelda fan. Ali's probably slightly more, but still not as on board as the broader gaming space, and we're not disrespecting the franchise by any means. Like, it's won many an award. Breath of the Wild, obviously Game of the Year winner unanimously through so many award sort of criteria several years back now, and this one will probably do the same, but it just doesn't move the needle for me. I'll play it probably day one and give it a go, but I'm just not all in on Link and Zelda and this world as a whole. It looks fine. I like that there's some new mechanics or some new sort of systems they're weaving in.
Yeah.
The fact that the durability system has a little bit of a new coat of paint with this fuse ability where you can mash things together to make new powerful weapons, which is great. But yeah, it just doesn't move the needle for me personally. For the ones that it does, I'm happy for you, and I can't wait for you to gush about this game on the 12th of May. But for me, I'm just making up the numbers.
Yeah. For me, I was very late to playing Breath of the Wild. I only played it because of the hype, and I just needed something to play on my Switch. And in saying that, I did enjoy the world of Breath of the Wild. I liked the experience of the NPCs and the environment. However, I just did not care for the story or the narrative. I barely touched it. So when I have seen releases of the content for Tears of the Kingdom, it was looking very much of the same. So there wasn't really much of a selling point for me. These new systems that they've brought in are cool. Whether they really will draw me into needing to play this game day one, I doubt it. But like you said, the fans are loving it. The fans are hyped. So I'm happy for them, and I hope it's just as awesome as Breath of the Wild.
I completely agree. Like, I'm ecstatic for the Zelda purists out there, because there has been a lot of positive interaction on social media that I've seen about how hyped they are from this trailer, the changes, the enhancements, etc., etc. So I'm genuinely happy for everyone that's all aboard with Zelda, but I am just not. I am just the generic gamer here that is just going to play it just to see what the hype's about. I'm going in with minimal expectation because, the first game in this new reimagined Switch-based series was great. Breath of the Wild, I enjoyed my time with it, but it was not Game of the Year for me. Horizon Zero Dawn was Game of the Year for me that year. But this it looks fine. It looks more of the same, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It just it doesn't resonate the way it does with most of games fans, games media, than it does with you and I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something else that's not resonating with games fans and games media is to do with multiverses. So Warner Bros. Games and Player First Games have announced this week that early access for multiverses will be closed on June the 25th and will aim to launch the full game in early 2024. The announcement was shared in a blog post last Monday, thanking players for participating in the open beta for multiverses and calling it a stepping stone for the next phase of the game. Player First Games, the developers behind multiverses, confirmed that players who spent money on the game throughout the open beta will not get a refund. The news comes from the official Multiverses website under the FAQ page. Under the question, will refunds be available for previously purchased content? It reads, this announcement does not change any current refund policies or terms offered by the storefront from which Founders Packs or Gleamium bundles were purchased. For more information, please visit the customer support pages on your various platform. Additionally, refunds are not available as a result of the open beta closure. However, all progress and previously earned or purchased content will carry over when Multiverses returns in early 2024. So 6+ month wait between the beta closing and the game coming out next year. I played a bit of Multiverses for a week or two. I enjoyed it. I wasted some money and bought some Gleamium bundles. And the fact that I guess that money is just a sunk cost now because I don't know if I'd go back next year. Like, I had my fun with it, but I've moved on. And I think what Warner Brothers probably aren't thinking about is, the gaming industry is pretty fickle. They move on quick, and giving them now 6 months to find another game to play, another community to get absorbed into and focus on. I feel Multiverses is going to flop next year when it comes out in full.
Yeah, I was actually shocked to hear. I obviously didn't really pay too much attention on the release of Multiverses, not realizing that it was a beta. That I believe people paid into. I believe it was a purchasable beta, or there was something about it. But either way, as it said here, that people have invested money into it, whether it is with skins or characters and such. And then to be invested into a game and then be told, thanks for playing, we're cutting it, we'll see you next year. I don't know how I would feel about that. I don't know if it was ever addressed, if the possibility of it ever happening was ever placed in any kind of, I don't know, maybe some like bylines or somewhere hidden in some documentation. But I just think it, like you kind of said, that the industry is fickle. I don't know if this was like some kind of thing that they're doing. Maybe they've already lost momentum of a player base, so maybe they feel by saying like, oh, we're closing it off to make it better, we'll see you next year, that once they bring it back online, maybe it'll be like a second wave of hype and getting people on board again. I have no clue, but absolutely shutting it down on whatever fan base you had and then saying we'll see you next year, I don't know. It just, to me, it sounds like a really bad practice. Maybe it'll pay off, but just to me, it just sounds really weird.
I agree with you. I feel this is a calculated move by Warner Brothers Games and Player First Games, but I don't think the calculation is correct because people are going to jump off this and they're going to jump on something else, and there's a very high possibility that they will not come back. So let's see what happens in 2024 when we get the full release of the game. Let's see what they charge for the game too in the full release. Are they going to like release it as a free-to-play game with the Founders Packs and the Gleamium bundles the way they make their cash? Or are they going to chuck a $20, $30, $40 price tag on it? I don't know, but I feel this is a bad play by Warner Brothers Games and Player First Games to close it down, especially for this amount of time. Like, fair enough if they said we're closing the beta and it's going to come out now in June, a couple of months to add some polish and get everything perfected. But the fact that early 2024 could mean it could be 6 months, it could be, it won't be 6 months, my math is horrible. It's at least 8 months away. It could be a year before we see this game come out again. And yeah, people will be well gone by then. So yeah, I feel this is not going to end well.
The only other thing that I think they could be doing by completely wiping it clear off the player base is maybe by making it no longer accessible, making changes. Maybe behind the scenes, they're probably trying to also develop like a scene. Like maybe they're already thinking about developing tournaments, getting esports groups involved so that when they bring it back to market, they've already going to have tournaments ready. They're already going to have teams ready, because that is definitely one way to get people excited about these kinds of games where multiplayer is to already have a scene available. Didn't really work well for Halo, but but that's the only other thing I can think of in this move is just getting it all set up for release again.
That's fair. Like, they could be working behind the scenes with, places like Evo and things where they'll release in full with with a multiverses tournament that goes in and runs in parallel between Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Darksiders, etc., etc. So, yeah, that could be a way to see this game have a little bit more uptake and go head-to-head with your Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But, yeah, the skeptic in me on this one feels that this is not the right move, but we'll see. We'll be reporting on this probably this time again next year when it's come out with either some good or some bad news. But, yeah, let's wait and see what happens with multiverses. Something else, though, definitely not in the good news realm, but definitely the bad news realm. And I just wanted to first start my lap around the room, waving to the fans, because my prediction here that I put out there in January has bared fruit. And this is in relation to, obviously, E3. So almost a year after announcing its return, the Entertainment Software Association announced this week to its members that this year's Electronic Entertainment Expo, otherwise known as E3, has been cancelled. Two sources have confirmed to IGN that the organisation announced the cancellation via an email sent out to its members. Can confirm I received this email because we were looking to get some media passes to check it out this year, and that is not happening now. So the email said that while E3 remains a beloved event and brand, that the 2023 version simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. The ESA concludes the email by reiterating its commitment to advocacy work, but it does not mention undertaking the show again in future years. Following IGN's report, the ESA issued the following public statement from Kyle Marsden-Kish, who is the Global VP of Gaming for ReedPop. This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and our partners put toward making this event happen. But we had to do what's right for the industry and what's right for E3. We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from ReedPop's event experiences. The press release adds that ReedPop and the ESA will continue to work together on, in quotes, future E3 events. So, there's a lot more to this. You can find broader statements and information doing the rounds. Just chuck it on Google, jump on IGN, Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, etc., etc. But the main thing here is E3 that was meant to be taking place in June is not happening. So June 13th through June 16th, gone. Los Angeles Convention Center now has an opening for something else to fill that void. And it would have been the first in-person E3 event since 2019. But like the prediction I stated here in January, I'm tooting my horn a little bit where I said this is the death of E3. I feel that we will not see E3 again in a physical capacity ever. Obviously, they were talking about doing a digital version as well, which has also been scrapped. But yeah, this is the beginning of the end for the Electronic Entertainment Expo, Miss Hart. How are you feeling about all this?
I'm sad. I really thought this was going to be the one opportunity where I'd actually make it to an E3 before it went kaput. In the same sense, I feel like as we got closer to this announcement, it was pretty inevitable. All the biggest publishers and consoles and everyone was just like backing out. Each week we had a new company come out saying like, well, we're not going to E3, but we support them in their ventures and stuff. And it's like, oh God, this is bad. So I'm also really anxious because this is a tick on your hot take bet. So I've really got to start working on my tolerance to spiciness. It is sad. Like, I know that a lot of people at ReedPop obviously were very optimistic and working as hard as they could to make this a possibility. But in the same sense, it was a gamble for them to keep pushing and obviously holding back an announcement to say that it is officially cancelled. We are now seeing a lot of people in the industry that may have already made travel plans and hotel purchases or whatever that's needed in order to actually make the event. They've kind of come back saying that they are unhappy because these plans have already been made. Badges apparently were already allocated to some people, so they feel like that now they've obviously going to lose some money based on this choice as well. So it's sad. E3 has been quite a pinnacle event in the gaming industry, and we've only seen it now kind of decline, just more and more, obviously due to the COVID and everything that kind of followed. But we are so inundated now with gaming events. Obviously, Summer Games Fest came in, and almost like, we've got to be honest, Summer Games Fest kind of came in and it slowly kind of took over, and then it saw its success in being able to fill the void that E3 left. So I guess it's about doing it right, who you know and how you present. We also have all the PAX events. We have Gamescom. We have all the other events that kind of happen throughout the year, even with consoles companies themselves doing their own events. So it was extremely competitive, but it just seems like E3 was too big for its britches. I don't know. Like, either way, it just couldn't make the cut, and it's had to cancel completely, which is sad.
It feels that way. Like, I was fortunate enough to go to E3 in 2017, which was an awesome experience, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity. But from then, it seems like it's just been steadily on the decline, whether it be the data breaches where they've had hacked and all the data of people that went there from media and press and everything else, all that information made its way out into the internet. So there was some bad sort of vibes off the back of that, the cancellations, the mixed messaging to the market, and like you said, Jeff Keighley, like we poke fun at him a lot as far as him trying to be the brand in the face of Game Fest and the Game Awards and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, thinking about it, maybe that's a smart play, because E3 is just seen as this faceless event run by the ESA, where Jeff Keighley is front and center. He's a human, he's personable, and he's always in people's faces, for better or for worse. So maybe that is a bit of a smart play, and yeah, it certainly feels like Jeff Keighley and his events have come in and taken ESA's lunch over the last several years, where they've cancelled E3, and then Summer Game Fest has popped up digitally, and all these digital events are just the smart way to do things, because the developers and the publishers can control the narrative a lot better. They can showcase polished product and have clear messaging, where show floors or live events, there's so many things that could go wrong. The messaging can be incorrect. It cannot be demoed the right way, where digital is the future. So you can see by, PAX here in Australia last year, no Sony, no Microsoft, no Nintendo. No, like E3 here, everyone was pulling out. We'll see similar with future physical events, no doubt. Like, obviously, yeah, we've still got Gamescom in Europe, and we've got TGS in Japan, but they're the last two sort of big legacy holdouts outside of your PAXs, which is great, but PAX sort of weaves in other parts of pop culture. But yeah, I think it's just going to be more and more digital-based events, because you can capture an audience that way. People don't have to stress about paying for big tickets and waiting in queues, and they can get a similar experience from their lounge room, from their bedroom, from wherever they're watching and consuming that content. So it is a shame to see E3 be cancelled, and I feel ultimately E3 might be put out to pasture moving forward. I don't know if we'll get another physical E3. We might get like a digital based event or something, but I feel the old physical show floor at the Los Angeles Convention Center will never be graced by E3 again, which is a shame, because it was an awesome experience, and it was a huge area that they covered. Like, it was the gaming mecca, and I'm happy that I got to experience it at least once. But yeah, E3 is going skis. And on the topic of Jeff Keighley, I don't know if you saw the tweet that he dropped this morning, but he's cold. They already dropped a tweet about like, Summer Game Fest is still going ahead, or Summer Games Fest is not dead, or something like that, like pissing on the ashes of E3 5 minutes after the announcement was made. Like, he ruthless to this week, I'll tell you.
I'm very curious if there's some kind of secretive bad blood or any kind of industry poking that may have happened behind the scenes that we're not familiar with, where this opportunity to actually succeed and strive. Like, I mean, while it's on the back of everyone's minds, it's like, oh, damn, there's no E3, but there is Summer Games Fest. So I don't know. Like, I can't blame a man. He was already competing. Like, he was already trying to compete with it, you know, before it was starting to flounder. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, he's dancing on the ESA's grave any chance he gets at the moment. Like, you can't fault the man's hustle. Like, I feel, yes, he doesn't need to be front and center on everything he does. It should be about the brand and the games as opposed to him being the face of all this stuff. But at the same time, he's had a lot of success off the back of it. So I'm not gonna sort of disrespect him too much, because he seems to be a smarter man than me as far as, you know, making these inroads and building out these great events. But yeah, we'll pull one out for E3. We'll see what happens in the future, if, when, or how they come back and in what regard. But it certainly sounds like the bell is tolling right now, and the casket's getting lowered into the grave here. So yeah, very, very heartfelt sort of apologies and love does go out to everyone at ReedPop who have been working very hard on making this thing hopefully become a reality. But sadly, it was not meant to be. Yeah, thanks for the memories, I guess.
Even though
but also,
they weren't, so...
checkbox on my predictions. Get ready, Miss Hart.
Damn it.
That's spice. All right, let's move on to this.
Tweet of the week.
And this tweet comes via way of @NobelBrote, who is a sort of a fairly new games newsbreaker. Great follow on Twitter. If you wanted to follow them on Twitter, it's @KNOEBELBROET is their handle. And this was the tweet. It goes, Diablo 4 was the franchise's biggest beta to date. Total hours played, 61 million plus. Player deaths, 49 million plus. Monsters killed, 29 billion plus. Most players, like the most played classes, were the Sorcerer and the Necromancer, which, you know, we both did honor those and had a great time. And then there's a graphic that was initially shared by Blizzard as far as, you know, the amount of times the Butcher got killed, which was obviously the big open world boss. The amount of people that got killed by the Butcher was actually 3-1 as far as the Butcher killed 3 times the amount of players as the players killed the Butcher. And then it ties into also the amount of beta wolf packs earned. So 2.6 million players. You and I were part of that 2.6 million that gets the little cute wolf pack backpack there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, awesome to see. Like, we talked about our experiences with Diablo 4 at the start here, but seeing 61 million hours get played over those 2 weekends. And actually, I don't know if that encompasses the closed beta, because it just says biggest beta. So I don't know if that... No, that's just the open beta stats, sorry. So that doesn't even include the closed beta stats the week before. So...
Well, they have the list of the Necromancer there. Necromancer wasn't available until the second beta. So
yeah, the graphic there just says open beta under the Diablo logo above the icons of the Sorcerer and the Necro. So yeah, this is just for the open beta weekends. This doesn't even include the numbers from the people that played the weekend before. So that's even more impressive. But short version is get high for Diablo, because everybody else is.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. If you don't want to wait until June the 6th of 2023 for things to get into your hands, do not worry, because we got you covered.
New releases and events.
All right, we're just going to jump straight to the big screen here, because it is a busy week for any cinemaphiles out there. The first one, the Super Mario Brothers movie making its way to the big screen. We've also got Air, which is the story about how the Air Jordan shoe came to be. A couple of animated films in Argonauts and Mavka, the Forest Song. And also the last film, which is starring Russell Crowe, called The Pope's Exorcist. Which
it's so weird.
Looks interesting.
Looks so weird. I think it's like just... I don't know. I can't get the vibe of it, because I saw a trailer and I'm like, is this meant to be a comedy? So yeah, I'm a bit iffy about that one. There was one that recently came out. Was it last week? Was it the Dead? The trailer was spooky as. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's a kind of another like demon exorcist kind of movie. Let me just see if I can remember what it was.
I'm keen for some Super Mario Bros. Movie. Very much so. Air, it's getting some good reviews. I do like a good sport biopic, so we'll see the origin stories of how the Air Jordan came to be. And yeah, the Pope's Exorcist, like Russell Crowe, he's a good actor, and we'll see where he slots in, being the Pope's right-hand man, exorcising demons and things. How'd you go?
Couldn't find it. I just assumed it would be on my feed since I couldn't figure out what it was called. But I'm sure there's a plethora of people that are just yelling at me right now saying what the title is. But either way, it's quite the season for Scary, apparently.
Oh yeah. And if you're looking to play some games from the comfort of your living room, basement, lounge room, wherever you do your gaming, we've got a few games coming out this upcoming week. We've got Creed Rise to Glory Championship Edition, make its way to PlayStation VR 2. Grim Grimoire Once More. Hogwarts Legacy is dropping on the legacy versions of the PlayStation and the Xbox, so PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Meet Your Maker is coming out, as well as Road 96, Mile Zero, Batora Lost Haven, Curse of the Sea Rats, Everspace 2, Paparazzi, and EA Sports PGA Tour. So, bit of a diverse list of games there. There's something for everybody. I love what I've seen of Paparazzi, and if I could find my Switch, I'd probably buy it and play a little bit of that just to have a little bit of a cute moment taking photos of dogs, because that's kind of what I do in real life anyway. So, yeah, Paparazzi on the Switch.
Paparazzi is a very, very cute game. I just want to clarify that the movie was called Evil Dead Rise. So, just so you know
that's
what that movie was.
The end of this month. It's just they've done super early viewings of it, which breaks my heart.
Okay, well then, I mean, either way, it looks like it's going to be actually like a really scary one. The trailers were really messed up, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a time. I think it's out on around the 24th of April. I'm looking forward to going to see that at the cinemas and being equal parts entertained and disgusted.
That sounds about right.
All right, that brings us to the end of episode 321 of THG. Miss Hart, anything you wanted to mention or shout out before we shut this sucker down for another week?
I do not, actually. Nothing to say. Stay hydrated.
Nothing to say. All right, 8-Bit Nation. That is, the official end of things here for THG. But thanks as always for stopping on by. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe. Us and all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. But until next time, much love.
And stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.